Hello, friends. Welcome to Gate Forum. We are starting a new series in which we will try to understand all the different types of questions related with computer science and information technology, subject by subject, for GATE 2021 and all the previous GATE examinations which was taken. Okay, so GATE 2021, GATE 2020, and all the other previous examination we are going to understand. Okay, so first of all, we are starting with one of the most common and favorite subject, which is computer networks. Okay, so first of all, I am taking the questions from CN, and we are taking the one by one question for understanding. So this is the GATE 2021 SAT 1 CN question. So this is belonging to the computer networks. Okay, so first of all, I am giving you 1 minute of time. Kindly try to read the question and kindly try to understand this. What is the question wanting to say? Okay, then we will try to understand the question in detail and we try to provide the solution to it. Okay, so here the question is, assume that we have a 12-bit Hamming code word consisting of 8-bit data and 4 check bits, in which D8, D7, D6, D5, C8, D4, D3, D2, C4, D1, C2, C. Okay, so in this format, the data is being stored. This is the format which is given for a data. This is the data format. Data plus check bits format. Okay, where the data bits and the check bits are given in the following tables. So they had given some particular fields for data, they have given some particular fields for the check bits. Okay, now they have asked you what is the which of the following choices are the correct value of x and y. So we need to find the value of x which is present here and the value of y which is present. Okay, now before going for the solution of this question, let's try to understand what the question is wanting to say. Okay, and before that, we will try to identify this is from the which section of computer network. So basically, it's related with the Hamming code. So as you might be knowing, the Hamming code is basically a concept related with the data link layer based error correction. So this question is basically related with the data link layer, and inside the data link layer it's related with the error correction strategy. Okay, so first of all, before going through detail about any particular question, we should be knowing that what is the topic from which the question is being asked. Okay, so the topic is related with the data link layer and the question is simple, which is the error correction. Okay, now they have given you certain data bits and certain checkbits, and this is the format which is being given to you. Okay. Now, based on this particular format, we need to calculate the value of x and y. Okay, so as you might be knowing that whenever we are given the particular question related to the Hamming code, at that point of time, the format depends the the format always is very important. Now here if you take this C1, the check bits are always those bits in which we calculate the value of each and every particular data in the corresponding format. Okay, so if you have a C1 as my particular check bit, it will take into consideration 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, all of this position. Okay, always C1 will take one and then will not take into consideration the second position. Similarly, if we go for C2, it will take from the second position it will take 2, okay, and it will leave 2, which is 6 7. Okay, again it will take 2, which is 6 7, and then it will leave 8 9, then it will take 10. So this is the standard format for C2. Okay, if you take C4, it will first take 4 to 7, okay, then 8 to 11 would be skipped, and then from 12 to 15, and then from 12 to 15. Okay, similarly, if we take C8, it will basically take into consideration starting from 8 to next 8 position, and then it would be skipping the next 8. Now, what do we need to do for all of this? We need to take into consideration that after doing this checking, we should be having the even one, sorry, e- even one as my parent. Okay, this is always a default parity which would be having. This is always a default parity. Okay, so this is the concept. For every particular check bit, C1, C2, C4, C8, we take into consideration 1, 2, 4, 8, and then leave that corresponding amount. And based on which we would get the final parity should be 1. Okay, final even parities. This is always a difference. So here they can also ask in the question related with the even zero parity, odd one parity, or odd zero parity. But they haven't asked anything inside the question. So by default, we will take into consideration the even parity. Okay, and based on these, we will take into consideration the values. Okay, so let's try to identify what we are trying to achieve. So basically, we need to store our data in 12 bits. Why 12 bits? Because if you see the question properly, they had given that for we have 4 check bits, okay, and we have 4 check bits and 8 is our data bits. So total we would have 8 plus 4, which is basically of 12. So the total data would be of 12, and this data would be stored in this format. So first of all, we would have this C1, then we would have C2, then we would have D1, then we would have, sorry, C4. So if you look inside the question, this is the format in which it is being stored. C1, C2, D1, D4. After that, we are having D2, D3, D4. Post which we are having C8. Then we are having D5, D6, D7, and D8. So according to the format which is given, so this is what, this is the form, this is the given format. We are storing all the data in that particular given format. Now, if we check the values of each and every specific data, so you will find that C1 is having the value 0, C2 is having the value of 1. Okay, so C1 is having a value of 0 and C2 is having a value of 1. Okay, so we are just placing the data which is given inside the question. Then D1 is having 1 and C4 is having value 0. So D1, 1 and C4 is having the value 0. Similarly, I am placing all the particular values. So I am just checking inside these. So if you check D2, D3, D4, 0, 1, 0. So I am placing the values in the same way. D2, D3, D4. Okay. And if you check into consideration as C8, C8 is having the value Y and D5 is having the value X, and then it is 0, 1. So D8 is having the value Y, this is having the value X. Let me get it properly, friends. and then we are having 0, 1, 1. Okay, so we are initially tried to understand what we are taking into consideration. We are taking into consideration the error correction strategy, in which the C1, C2, C4 will take into consideration these all bits, these all positions. Okay, and we are taking into consideration the event rate. Now, just for your easy reference, what we are writing this is 1, 2. I'm just writing the positions of the bits. It always starts with reference. Remember, because we are going to correct the error number, so if there is no error, the output will give me 0. It's a different concept altogether. So because of this, we always start with 1. So always remember, this will always start with 1. Okay, now if we check C1, if we check into consideration C1, C1 will take into consideration what? 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. We only have till 11, so we will take into consideration that. So what is the value at 1? Let's try to identify. Okay, then it will be 11. What is the value at 1? Let's try to identify. The value of 1 is 0. The position number 1 is having the value 0. Position number 3 is having the value 1. Position number 5 is having the value 0. 7 is having the value 0. 9 is having the value x, and the 11 is having the value 5. Okay, so in total we have two ones here. We already have two ones, which is an even number. We should have in total, we should have even number of ones, which is the even parity. So based on this, you can say that if we place the x with the value 1, at that point of time we will have three ones. If we place the x with the value 1, okay, we would have three ones. So basically we would require x to be 0. Everybody able to understand? We already have even number of ones in this particular section. So that's why the value of x is required to be 0. Similarly, if we check for C2, C2 would be what? 2, 3, 6, 7, 10, 11. Okay, at every point of time, if we look that particular data, 2 is having the value of 1, 3 is also having the value of 1. Okay, so 2 and 3 both are having the value of 1 basically. If we look at 6, the value is again 1. 7, the value is 0. Okay, 10, the value is 0. And 11, the value is 1. So it is having the 4 ones, 1, 2, 3, and 4 ones, which is even the same. So that's why we are not doing anything in this particular consideration. Now here, if you look here, you don't have anything like x and y. So that's why it is not mandatory to look here. So I have just given an example of C2 here. But for this particular question, it is not required to look. I'm just giving you an example how C2 would work. It is not required for this question, because for this question, friends, we need to identify the value of x and y only. So for C2, there is neither x nor y. So that's why we are not looking into detail for it. Similarly, if you look for C4, I'm just writing in the new page. Okay, so we are just creating the notes at each and every page. You will also get these notes for understanding purpose. Okay, but try to understand. So if you write for C4, so C4 will take into consideration 4, 5, 6, 7, then 8, 9, 10, 11 would be gone, and then 12. Again, if you look at the values of this C4, okay, so 4, 5, 6, 7 will be 0, 0, 1, 0, and the 12 would be 12. Okay, I'm just writing the value here, which is 0, 0, 1, 0, and the 12 would be 1. So again, we are having two ones, which is an even number. Okay, so we don't require this also. So here also we don't have anything like x and y. So this is also not required. Okay, so in the real examination, when you go, you should be aware that whether this particular calculation is required or not. Whenever we only find the value of x and y, so we check that okay, the C2 and C4 is not required for x and y, so we'll not take into consideration. Now finally we go to C8. C8 means what? It will take 5, so it will take 8 and then it will leave the next 8. It will start from 8. It is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Here we are only up till 12, so we are taking into consideration that. So it is basically what? Y x 0.1. Okay, so if you look at the value, it is y x 0, 1. Okay, we already checked before that the value of x is c. Okay, because we checked with the concept of c1. So the value of x is equal to 0. This we have understood with the concept of the c1. Okay, now if we look here, if we substitute this x equal to 0 here, we are having two ones and two zeros. So again, we are having two ones, which is even number of. Already we are having the even number of ones. So the value of y is required to be 0. Why 0? Because if we keep it as 1, if we keep it as 1, then it would have the even number of, sorry, odd number of ones. Okay, so if y is 1, then we would have odd number of ones. Okay, which will not suit our requirement because we always have a default even one parity, which will not suit to our particular. Okay, so that's why the value of y is required to be 0 and the value of x is also required to be 0. X 0 because of this C1. Okay, because we are having this C1 in which we are having already two ones, so x is required to be 0. The same 0 we had applied here, so that's because of the scenario we are getting two zeros and two one, and the value of y is to be 0 for this to match this even one. Okay, so that's why your answer would be specifically the value of x is 0 and the value of y is 0. So your answer should be specifically. Okay, so I hope you understand this particular question, what this question is trying to see. Okay, so kindly try to go through these questions. You also get these particular slides, how this entire thing is working as a for the practice session. Okay, but kindly try to understand the question properly and solve the question by yourself. Similarly, we will also have next pretty much questions of the computer networks, which is belonging to the GATE 2021. Okay, we will also have the next questions of the GATE of the computer network as well as other subjects in the series in the upcoming videos. So kindly try to understand this question well, okay, and solve it by yourself. Okay, the question, let's try to understand the question well, first of all. The question is that consider that there are two hosts P and Q connected through a router R. So I have a host named P and I have a host named Q. They both are connected using a particular router R. Okay, the maximum transfer unit between P and R is 1500 bytes. So P and R MTU is 1500 bytes, while between the R and Q it's 820 bytes. Okay, the TCP segment of size 400 bytes was transferred from P to Q through R. So I am having a particular TCP segment which is having of size of 400 byte is transferred from this P to Q via R with IP identification as 0x1234. Okay, so you can say that the identification number of this particular segment is 0x1234. Assume that IP header size is of 20 bytes. Okay, the packet further the packet is allowed to be fragmented. Don't fragment flag in the IP header is not set by P. Okay, so we can do the fragmentation here. So the fragmentation is allowed here. That's a very important thing. Then we need to find that which of these is correct. So basically the question is related with the MSQ. MSQ, it means the multiple select question, in which more than one answer might be correct from these four options of ABCD. Okay, so that's what the basic scenario which we are going to ask here. Okay, now the first statement is two fragments are created at R and IP datagram size carrying the second fragment is 620 bytes. Okay, so here the total size of the segment is 1400 byte. While it travels from P to R, it won't have any particular requirement of the fragmentation. Okay, so from P to R, whenever it travel, it will not have any requirement of fragmentation. So from here, we don't have any fragmentation requirement because the size of the segment is less than the maximum transfer unit between P to R. Now, when it goes from R to Q, like first of all, it reaches R, which is a router. Now, our router will do the particular fragmentation. Okay, why? Because the maximum size which is being allowed from R to Q is 820 bytes, and 1400 byte is greater than this. So basically, yes, we will require the fragmentation here. Okay, so now this 1400 bytes is being divided majorly into two fragments. How come? See, out of 1400, the first 800 byte is used for the data, and we are having the IP header size of 20 bytes. Okay, so that is being given here. So here, in the first fragment, we have 800 bytes of data plus 20 of header. So this is what? This is my data. Okay, and this is basically IP header. Okay, so total it would have 820. Okay, in total we would have 820. We write it properly, 820 byte, which is equal to the MTU which is given here. So the MTU here is basically 820. Now, out of 1400 total data, if we remove 800 byte in the first fragment, the second fragment would be having 1400 minus 800, which will do 600 bytes of data. This would be of data plus 20 byte of header. This would be again of header. So total, it would be having 620 bytes. Okay, so basically it would be created into two fragments. So two fragments would be created. Okay, that's what it means. The two fragments are created at R. So at R only there are two fragments are created. Okay, and the datagram size carrying the second fragment is 620 bytes. Okay, so you can say that the second fragment which is there is 620 bytes. So the A answer is correct. But as it is MSQ, we can have more than one answer correct also. So we need to check the others also. Okay, so kindly try to understand that the MSQ means we can have more than one correct answer, And here, a very simple understanding, you just identify the first P, it is whether it is greater than, it's the size of the segment is greater than the MTU or not. That's the first and the foremost thing. Secondly, you calculate at R, okay, whatever the size is there, whatever the size of the segment is there, whether it is greater or not MTU. Okay, so here it was greater, it is less than MTU, so we don't require any fragmentation. Here it is greater than MTU, so we require fragmentation. Okay, now the second statement. If the second fragment is lost, R will resend the fragment with the IP destination value 0x1234. Okay, yeah, so R will require to resend the fragment. Okay, but generally what happens that whenever, always understand the concept, whenever we are using a connection oriented protocol. Okay, just like you are using TCP here, whenever we are using a connection oriented protocol, then we require to resend the entire segment, and not only the lost fragment. Okay, we can consider that this is one of the disadvantage of fragmentation, because even though the first fragment is reached successfully and the second fragment is having the value or the problem because of which it has not reached to the destination successfully or it is lost, then also we need to send both the fragments again, or you can say the entire segment again. Okay, because we are having a connection establishment based scenario, so we need to take care that there should be no out of order fragments which should be reached there. So let's consider if you have three fragments and the second fragment is lost and the third fragment reached first. Okay, then it would be have might be possibility of having the out of order delivery. In that case, the TCP will take care that the entire segments would be resent. So in case of anything failure happens or any loss happens, the entire segment would be resent. So if it was not the connection oriented mechanism, then this would be true. Okay, if it is a connection less or any UDP based protocol is was there, then this would be true. Then R will resend the fragments on with the IP identification base. But as it is basically related with the TCP, which is mentioned inside the question, okay, in the question it is being mentioned clearly that they are doing this by using the TCP segment. So that's why this statement would be false. Okay, and the correct statement is the second fragment is lost, so please require to resend the entire TCP segment. Okay, so this C would be true. Okay, so first is true because we are having the fragmentation which is required. The second, because of the TCP, it is incorrect. The third is correct because of the TCP. Last one, the TCP destination port can be determined by analyzing only the second fragment. Let's try to understand this. Okay, so always if I am having a data, okay, and the data is having two fragments, let's say it's the fragment one, okay, and a particular fragment two. So always all the information related to the TCP, all the information related to TCP header would be a part of this first fragment only. So TCP header would be a part of this first fragment always. Because for IP, let's understand the point. For IP, TCP header is a data. Okay, so it will not consider the TCP header as a different header. Okay, it will consider TCP header as data for IP. Okay, and this would be a part of the fragment 1, not of the fragment 2. So that's why this option is also wrong. Okay, because this is in the TCP destination port, which is a part of a TCP header. This is a part of TCP header. Okay, can be determined by analyzing only the second fragment? No, it is determined by analyzing the first fragment. So that's why this particular is also. So finally, if we say our answer is basically A and C in this case, which is the MSQ question. So everybody able to understand why A? A, because we are able to generate the particular two datagrams or two different fragments. And the second, because of the TCP, whenever one fragment is lost, it needs to resend the whole TCP segment. Okay, so I hope you understand this particular question. I will also provide you the notes for all the question with CN. Okay, so this is all for this video. We'll move ahead with the next questions of GATE 2021 in the next video. Welcome back with one another GATE 2021 CN question. Okay, let's try to understand the question first. The question is, consider a sliding window flow control protocol operating between a sender and a receiver or a full duplex filling. So I am having a particular sender and a particular receiver. Between them, I am having a particular full duplex link and I am using a flow control based strategy. Okay, so this is the concept related to the sliding window protocol. Okay, SWP, or you can say it's a concept related to the sliding window. Okay, the processing delay we are considering as negligible. We are considering the time taken for processing the acknowledgement, okay, framed by the sender is negligible. So in short, the processing delay we are not counting. So here the processing delay is not taken into the consideration. Okay, the sender is having the infinite number of frames available for the transmission. So there are a lot number of frames you can take into consideration. The size of the data frame is 2000 bits and the size of the acknowledgement frame is 10 bits. The link rate, or you can say the bandwidth, is 1 Mbps in both directions. So from the sender to receiver, the bandwidth is also 1 Mbps, and from the receiver to sender, the bandwidth is also 1 Mbps, which is basically 1 megabits per second. One way propagation delay is basically 100 milliseconds. So propagation delay is given as 100 milliseconds. You need to find the minimum value of the sender window size in terms of the number of frames. What is the window size, or what is the number of frame minimum value, okay, which is rounded to the nearest integer, which is needed to achieve the link utilization of 50%. Okay, so whenever we talk related with the sliding window protocol, we either have a concept of go backend or selective based protocols. Okay, so either we talk about a go backend based protocol or we talk about the selective repeat protocol. Now, which specific protocol they are using here, they haven't given any information. So as of now, I don't have any info about which protocol. So whenever we don't have any info related to the specific protocol, we will use by default flow control logic for calculating the efficiency or utilization. So we have a generic utilization formula, which is utilization, sorry, efficiency or utilization, which we represent as eta, is always the window size into transmission delay upon transmission delay plus 2 into propagation delay plus transmission delay of acknowledgement. Okay, so here we are having a transmission delay, which is the sending transmission delay. This is the 2 into propagation delay and plus t of acknowledgement. Ideally, the acknowledgement we are ignoring, but here we want ignore. We won't ignore the acknowledgement here. The reason is we had already got in the question that the size of the acknowledgement frame is 10 bits. It is given in the question, so that's why we would not be ignoring the T of acknowledgement, or you can say the transmission delay of the acknowledgement. Now, this is what this is basically it is given as efficiency, or you can say utilization, which is given to you in the question, which is equal to 50%. Okay, so let's calculate the funda. So here the formula is equal to 1 by 2 is equal to window size upon transmission delay. So let's calculate the transmission delay individually. Transmission delay is nothing but length of the frame upon bandwidth. So what is the length of the frame? Now here, this is the size of the data frame, which is 2000 bits. Okay, and bandwidth is 1 Mbps. So simply, we need to take into consideration 2000 upon 10 raised to 6 bits per second. So you will get this as 2 millisecond. Why I have taken into milliseconds? Because the other unit is already given to you in the milliseconds. So that's why to make it simpler, I'm taking into consideration the milliseconds. Okay, I'm again repeating how I have calculated it. So transmission delay, which is TT, this is nothing but the transmission delay, just for the sake of understanding, I'm just writing here, which is TT, which is 2 milliseconds. So what will be the having the scenario into 2 millisecond upon 2 plus 2 into propagation delay you are already given, which is 100 millisecond. So 2 into 100 plus. Now we need to calculate the T of acknowledgement. So how will we calculate the T of acknowledgement? Let's calculate it. So the T of acknowledgement I am calculating in the new slide. Okay, would be what? Length upon bandwidth. Now if you check, the acknowledgement frame is having 10 bits and the bandwidth on both the direction is 1 Mbps. 1 Mbps means 10 raised to 6. Okay, so it's a 10 bits upon 10 raised to 6. If I need to calculate this in a millisecond, I will get the value 0.01 milliseconds. Okay, so this is the actual data which I need to put it here plus 0.01. Okay, so this is the actual formula which I would get. Everybody able to understand how we have calculated this particular formula? So by calculation of this particular formula, I have calculated TT, which is the transmission delay. This is the transmission delay of acknowledgement, and TP is basically the propagation delay which is given to us. Okay, this is basically a propagation delay. We have considered 2 into TP because the propagation delay is always considered twice. One side it is for going and the other side it is for coming. So by this formula, we will get W equal to 200 plus 2202.01 upon this 2 into 2, which is 4. So on an average, you will get the value of W as 50.25. Okay, you can round about in the nearest integer. So you can say the value of W is 50. which is basically your window size. Okay, so the answer which you will be getting here is 50. Okay, so in terms of number of frame, we can have the minimal Sanders window size would be around 50, through which you can achieve the link utilization of 50%. Okay, so very simple game. Always for solving this type of question, this is the standard formula, friends. Again, I'm just repeating this once again. This is a standard formula. This question you can do using 2 minutes by just understanding this standard formula. Okay, so this is nothing but efficiency is equal to W, which is the window size, into transmission delay upon the all factors like transmission delay plus 2 into propagation delay plus T acknowledgement. Sometimes we ignore this, but in this question, as the acknowledgement frame size is given, so we will not ignore it, and that's why we get the final answer of this window. We have done all the other calculations here, transmission delay, T acknowledgement, all the other calculations we had done here, and based on that, we got the final value as 50. So hope you understand this particular question. Kindly try to solve this once by yourself, and we will give you the new questions new question solution in the next or upcoming video. 2021 CN question. Okay, so this is basically a computer networks question which was asked in GATE 2021. Let's try to understand the question quickly. This is basically an MSQ question. So TCP server application is programmed to listen on a port number P on host S. So let's say we are having a particular system or a host S, and I am having a port number P on it. Okay, there is a TCP server application which is listening on that particular port P of host S. Okay, so there is one application which is listening on it. A TCP client is connected to the TCP server over the network. So one client is connected to this. Okay, that's what is listening to this particular port. Okay, consider that while a TCP connection is active, a server has crashed and rebooted. So server has got crashed and it get rebooted while the connection was active. Assume that the client does not have the TCP keep alive timer. Which of the following behaviors is possible? So we need to identify all of the behavior which is possible out of it. First of all, let's identify what do you mean by TCP keep alive timer? Okay, so whenever we are having an interaction between a server and a particular client, at that point of time, if any point the server crashes, if the server gets crashed at any point of time, the client keep this particular timer to recursively send message to the server, whether to check whether it is active or not. This will send a dummy message to the server to check whether it is active or not. Okay, if the server does not reply to these messages, it means that the server is not active and client loses the connection. A very simple funda of TCP keep alive timer. So now we need to take into consideration that the TCP keep alive timer is not present in the client, and we need to identify which of this particular behavior is possible. Okay, it is an MSQ, so we can have multiple options also. So everybody try to understand the question once again by pausing the video. Okay, let's try to go towards each and every particular options one by one. The first option is a TCP serve application on AS can listen on P after. Yeah, it is possible. Why? If you load the question in, so it's a after reboot. So once the reboot is done, some services of S would start automatically. Okay, Out of them, one service may be of listening to pod P. So the connection, sorry, listening to pod. Okay, so the connection is already active. If you check here, the connection was active and it might again restart the connection. And can the TCP server application on S can listen to P? So this is one of the possibility. It's not always the case. Always understand the concept. It is might be possible. So this one is possible. I'm not saying that this is 100% the case. It might be possible, and it would be possible if it automatically start the listening to pod P, means it got rebooted and this starts working as soon as the server gets started. Okay, server get restarted by itself and no human intervention is required. Okay, so that's why it might be possible. Okay, let's go to the option number B. So one option A can be possible, so I'm taking as a tick mark. Okay, if the client send a packet after the server reboot, it will receive a fin segment. Okay, so now in the option B, it is saying that the client receives fin segment. So fin we normally use for connection termination. Okay, which we use for connection termination. Okay, as the client is sending messages. You remember. So fin is not required here. So fin is not required. There is nothing mentioned in the question whether the connection is required to be closed or not. So the connection was active at that point of time, the server has crashed and rebooted. So this is not possible. Always able to understand that this particular concept is not possible. So option A is possible. Inside the scenario, if it is get started, this is listening to P get started automatically without any human intervention, but fin will never require. Third, C. If the client is waiting on waiting to receive waiting on receiver a packet, it will wait definitely. So here, as we have mentioned that there is no specific keep alive timer. Okay, the client does not use a keep alive timer, so client cannot check recursively whether it is active or not. Okay, so if the client is waiting to receive any message, okay, waiting to receive any message, the client would wait forever. Okay, so without that, the client waits forever. Okay, I was able to understand the concept. I'm again explaining. So, keep alive timer is a timer in which the client will recursively send a message to the server whether the server is active or not. Whether the server is active or not. But here the client does not maintain the keep alive timer. It means that it will not able to send any message. So let's say that there is no requirement from the server to communicate to client. The server might have forgotten the client. Okay, because it has crashed and get rebooted. Okay, and if it is listening to pod P has done for some another client, so it might have forgotten this client and the client might wait indefinitely. Okay, so if the TCP keep alive timer was there, the client won't be waiting indefinitely, but as the TCP keep alive timer is not there, the client might be waiting indefinitely. So that's why, yeah, this is possible. Okay, the last thing, the client sends a packet after the server reboot, it will receive an RST segment. So this is for the option number C. I'm just writing here. Okay, which I explained initially. So let's for the option number D. The client send a message after the server reboot, it will receive a RST segment. Yeah. So see here, if the after reboot, if client sends message. Okay, so there might be possibility, as we have seen in the option B, that by default this listening to pod P does not start. Okay, So, sir, by default, the listening to port P does not start. Okay, there is a possibility. Okay, so this not start by default. So what to be done in that scenario? So the server needs to reset the connection. Okay, because the connection was active when before the server got crashed. Before the server got crashed, the connection was active. But after the server got crashed and reboot, okay, it does not remember about this particular connection. Okay, so to again re-establish the connection or to again go back to the previous part which was already having the connection, it needs to reset the connection. Okay, so for this part, it would send RST to client. Okay, so for resetting the connection, so this is also might be possible. Okay, so simple. So here we would have A, B, and D as our answer. So if you look inside the answer would be A, C, D. Sorry, A, C, and D. A because the by default the connection get established. Okay, A because by default the connection get established and by default if the service gets started, it might be one of the possibility. C because the C is not keeping any particular keep alive timer, so it might be waiting for a longer period of time. And D because if the client sends the packet after server reboot, the connection does not get established automatically, so the server is sending the reset signal. So this is the very somewhat little complex question. Try to understand the question, and the answer is basically ACT. Okay, let's solve one more GATE 2021 CN question. Okay, it's a GATE 2021 simple question. It is basically the very simple MCQ based question which was asked from the ARP request and reply. So it's basically related to the IP, or you can say Internet Protocol network, or you can say it's related with the network layer protocols concept. Okay, the question is pretty simple. You are given two different statements. We need to say which one is true, which one is false. So, first of all, we are given about the ARP. ARP, the destination MAC address of ARP reply is a broadcast address. Destination MAC address of ARP request is a broadcast address. Okay, so that's what is being asked here basically. Okay, so let's say what is ARP. ARP is address resolution protocol, which will help us to convert the IP address to MAC address. Means from a given IP address, we can able to generate a MAC address. That's what is basically the concept of the address resolution protocol. Okay, so whenever we send the request here, at that point of time, the source would be keeping its own IP address as source IP address and its own MAC address as source MAC address. This one as the source IP and MAC address. For the destination, it only knows the IP address of the destination. Okay, and the MAC address is not known. For destination, the MAC address is not known. Only this MAC address is not known. So whenever it send a request, at that point of time, it needs to broadcast it. It needs to do the broadcast to all the host in the subnet. Okay, so very simple funda. While sending a request, it is knowing the IP address and the MAC address, but in the receiver side, it will only know the IP address because it is not knowing the MAC address. Because the whole purpose of this algorithm or ARP is basically to find the MAC address from the given IP address. So if it is already knowing the MAC address, we will never require the ARP. So whenever we send a particular request, we need to do a particular broadcast address, and this would be basically the broadcast address, which would be FFFFFF. Okay, but while the response is there, at the point of the response, the destination which will be sending the response, okay, would be keep the MAC address and IP address of itself as source. This would be kept as a source one. Okay, and it would keep the source MAC address as destination. Okay, because it need to return back to that particular source from where the request has been came. So this will keep the source MAC address as the destination, and it is already knowing this source MAC address. So that's why it won't be a broadcast. It would be a unicast message. So always remember one simple funda. So if you are knowing a specific MAC address of that source, okay, also the IP address also, which I haven't mentioned here, which is not required. Then if you're already knowing about this MAC address and the IP address, then you will never do a broadcast, you will do the unicast. So whenever you are having the response or reply, it would be basically unicast, but whenever you send a particular request, it would be a broadcast. So here, if you try to understand, the S1 is basically related with the ARP reply. So reply, this would be basically unicast. So this one is false, and request is a broadcast, which is correct. So S2 is correct. So basically your answer would be S1 is false and S2 is true. So the answer to this question would be, I'm just explaining once again, we are converting IP to the MAC address. While sending the request, we are not knowing about the MAC address. So we will broadcast to all in the host in the same network. But while sending the reply, the destination would be knowing about the MAC address of the sender because it has seen this particular MAC address in the request, this MAC address in the request. So it will directly do the unicast and not the broadcast. So this unicast is wrong. This broadcast is, since this broadcast is wrong, this broadcast is correct, which is related with the request. So S1 is false, which is related to this, and S2 is false. So hope you have understood this particular question well. We will come again with the next question in the next video related to this. Okay, so kindly practice this types of question because these types of questions are very, very, very important. Okay, and all of these are recent questions. So kindly practice all of these questions which we are giving in one by one videos. Thank you so much.